Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Flix. We are your hosts,
Joey
and Josh. And today we're here to talk to you about...
The Gentleman!
Wait, what's that? What's The Gentleman?
The Gentleman.
The Gentleman, Guy Ritchie's new film.
Please. That's a terrible British accent. I apologize for that. That's terrible. Oh, please. There you go. That's a little better. Okay.
There were so many different dialects of
different
British, English.
Great Britain was on display.
Yeah, because you had Irish and you had Cockney,
from Cockney to like Irish accents to I want to say like a London accent. I don't know if there's.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
There's like the upper class and I don't know Manchester.
I don't know if anybody was from Manchester.
You're talking to the wrong person.
I am not British.
I'm not British, and I could not tell you exactly which dialect belongs to each region.
But kudos to Guy Ritchie for hitting this one out of the park.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, my question to you is, how many other Guy Ritchie movies have you seen? Like that you can think of off the top of your head.
I've seen Snatch,
okay,
Rock and Rolla, and then arguably his best one, Aladdin.
Oh my God, that was his, wasn't it?
That was Guy Ritchie, I know.
I love that.
I wouldn't say it's his best one. But
the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes were his. I think he was.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so I've seen the first one. I never saw the second one.
Second one was alright. It wasn't as good as the first one.
Yeah,
but
so
I mean,
that's about it. I never saw Lock, Stock.
I loved Lock, Stock, but out of like that era of Guy Ritchie, so between Lock, Stock, and let's just say Snatch is my all-time favorite.
Yeah, for
sure.
It
is amazing. I could sit down and rewatch that movie 100 times over.
I think I've only seen it once, to be honest.
Oh, I've seen that movie a lot. It's one of my favorite movies. That being said, this is somewhat reminiscent in that regard of Snatch, because again, Guy Ritchie goes back to, I guess, what's his roots of filmmaking and talking about British gangsters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I feel like he tried to do that with Rock and Rolla, right?
Oh, did he? He revisited that again?
I think so. Honestly, I don't even think I finished that one.
Really?
Yeah. I don't remember.
Well,
that came out, what, 2008?
Something like that. But that being said, I mean, this outing of, what's it called? Gentleman is amazing. It's got a great cast from Matthew McConaughey all the way to, the guys who play the guys in the tracksuits there.
Yeah. Yeah, the boys.
The boys.
Do we lads? My lads.
My lads.
They're good boys. I'll take. Don't punish them.
I honestly forgot Colin Farrell was even in this until I saw him.
Yeah. So I mean, I've been lucky. I got to see it twice.
Yeah.
And both times I enjoyed it equally. It's so good, and yeah, the cast I think nails it. It was like each person was perfect for their role, and for me the standouts were Hugh Grant and Colin Farrell. And Hugh Grant being known as he was that romantic,
he played charming,
he
and
played the British
and all
charming
that, yeah.
dude in the 90s. In all those romantic comedies.
Exactly.
Right?
He was the romantic comedy guy.
And then he was on The Simpsons, or they made a character to look like him exactly. But then he does this role, and I know he's done other things, and I haven't really followed his career so much, but my gosh, his role in this one kills me.
He kind of steals it.
He kills me. He is so funny and just such a snake. And he's
definitely the snake in the grass.
Because there's these are all gangsters, and there's no one that's really a good person except for maybe Colin Farrell.
And even him, He's done some,
and he admits
shady
he's
stuff.
like, no, I've had to do the mob work, and he's like, but I these are, he keeps talking about how
The boys he trained, because he's a fighting coach.
he's
Right.
the coach.
Yeah, he's the coach.
But Hugh Grant is like a weasel in this one.
He plays Weasel so well.
So well.
I really liked his back and forth between him and Charlie Hunnam
well, yeah,
throughout most of the movie.
Well,
right?
I'd say like 90% of the movie is them telling or going. It's him telling the story.
Yeah.
And
it's
trying
it's narrated
to
through Hugh Grant or whatever.
through Hugh Grant, and then you have Charlie Hunnam reciprocating it.
Yeah.
And commenting on it, and saying, yeah, you've got like a fascinating imagination and all this stuff. And I'm not a huge. I don't know a lot about Charlie Hunnam. I've seen him maybe in the Pacific Rim, and
yeah, he's still relatively.
But he did Sons of Anarchy, right?
Yeah, he was huge on Sons. Well, Sons
He
of
was the
Anarchy
main
was
character,
huge.
wasn't
he
he?
was the lead in that.
Yeah,
So,
I never watched a single episode of that.
I haven't either.
I haven't seen a lot of
anyone
his
I've
stuff.
talked to who has watched Sons
Yeah.
has loved it.
Oh yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard the same.
It's just it's on my list. It's just one I haven't gotten to.
Yeah, same.
Because let's be honest, there's so much now.
Yeah.
And now that we're doing
So,
a movie podcast, it's kind of hard to keep up.
Yeah. So for me, watching this movie with Charlie Hunnam, because it's hard to pinpoint the exact lead. I mean, Matthew McConaughey is labeled as the lead of the movie because it is really centered around his story.
But arguably, it's mainly because
he's the driving force of the story.
He is the driving force of the story. But this, I would argue, is more of an ensemble piece.
Oh, it is 100%.
100%.
I'd say you could toss the leads specifically between McConaughey, Hunnam, and Hugh Grant. I'd say arguably those have the most screen time, or at least narrative time, and then you have Colin Farrell up there as well with his boys and the wife as well.
That's true. She was an integral part.
And that guy, the guy who played Matthew as well, and Henry Golding, or Goulding, I forget. Henry Golding. Those being like the supporting, but again, it is an ensemble piece, and everyone plays their part just so well.
It's like an orchestra playing perfectly, and you just hear, and they are making music, and it works so well. Everybody does what they're supposed to do, and they nail it. Each performance is like.
So let's say
is like top shelf stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think I went into this movie when I first watched it, really not expecting anything. I'd heard decent things, but I didn't expect anything about it. So I was like, I just wanted to sit back and be entertained. And boy, was I entertained. And then when I saw it again, I was like, I just wanted the same thing. And already knowing the plot, already knowing what happens, I was still so pleasantly surprised to enjoy it as much as I did again. And so I'm just on that. Is there anything we didn't like about the movie?
I can't think of anything right now, to be honest.
I'm trying to think, like, is there anything that didn't work for you?
I kind of saw the play that Matthew was making, like, right from the get-go. Right? As soon as it hit, I was like, oh, yeah, no, this... And that's kind of the only thing that sort of bugged me, because if you go thinking about it, he's the only one who knew where everything was.
Yeah.
And then literally the next scene, it's getting raided.
Yeah.
Like
I agree.
Is like,
I
and
agree.
That's just sort of, okay, this is where we're going with it.
You were kind of waiting for someone to have been spying, or someone to have been working behind the shadows as well, besides Hugh Grant or something like that, where they would affect his business. But it was so coincidental that it happened almost immediately after Matthew McConaughey shows his business to Matthew, to that character.
Yeah.
And I agree. I would say that as well. But
other than that, like, that was just, and
but
it wasn't even that bad.
It wasn't bad, really. It
was
makes sense.
It was just like, yeah, that this is what's happening. This is what's going to happen.
And then it gets worse because you get to the end. And you know what? For me, I was never a huge Matthew McConaughey fan. Again, he's another actor. I've only seen in maybe a handful of things. I just didn't watch his stuff. You know, he also started, he did romantic comedies and stuff that I really didn't care about.
I'll be honest, his performances got better after he got the Oscar.
Yeah, probably.
Like and truthfully, he started getting a lot more interesting roles and characters to play. And I think
it was both that year he had that little part in Wolf of Wall Street.
And I read somewhere that was like all improvised too.
Yeah, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Because actually, if I remember correctly, there's something, his whole interaction with DiCaprio, it's just that one scene in the restaurant.
That's his whole
part.
Movie, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, he gets him hired and then he's gone. But he talks about how he preps like to get ready to sell or to work. And that apparently is the same type of warm up he does when he acts.
So
he's like when he's like thumping his chest, he's like, doo-doo-doo, like he's do that like grunting, that humming thing. Apparently that's what he does when he acts
to get him going, eh?
Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, that scene was like, it was great, and it just shows since, and it's true, since he's won that Oscar, he's gotten a lot more. He's gotten a lot better roles. He's done a few of those like silly comedy things over time. I think he's maybe done one since, but he's getting a lot more interesting and juicier roles to work with. I mean, did you see him in, I think it was season 1 of True Detective?
No, I never watched it.
Amazing in that.
I heard.
Like his performance is great.
I heard it's him and Woody Harrelson, right?
Yeah,
in the first season?
That's arguably the best one. I haven't seen
the third season.
The third season.
I haven't seen any of them.
I didn't like the second season as much, but apparently, apparently the third season is really good too, and it's like an anthology series.
Yeah.
So each season is one story.
Right.
And then the
like
next
Fargo.
Season, yeah, kind of like that. Stuff. Yeah.
That's cool. I'd love to watch that. But yeah, so trying to think of something that we didn't really like. I can't say there is. For me, I think the pacing is so good, but
that's like very obvious of a Guy Ritchie movie. His pacing is great, and he keeps the movie sort of like moving, and there's never really a lull time.
No,
but it's not. It also doesn't feel like it's rushed. Do you know what I mean? Like this was a relatively longer movie. I'd say didn't.
It was under 2 hours.
Was it like but
it wasn't that long. And when you get to some of these movies too, there's always that when it hits the crescendo, and they even say that word in the movie.
I think they use it once,
right?
Yeah.
So spoilers for anyone who hasn't watched this film, when Henry Golding is about to assault Matthew McConaughey's wife, and then McConaughey kills him. Right after that, not normally, but in a lot of movies, it would start to slow down, like hard.
Yeah,
because it'd be like that was the big moment.
Like
and
his
then
character was the main antagonist.
Yeah,
like at least portrayed through most of the movie.
The main physical threat.
Yeah,
was him, and but then so after that, normally in a movie, it would just drift its way to the end. Any loose ends after that would be tied up either fairly quick or sometimes really slow. But I felt with this one, then all of a sudden it threw a couple more loopholes or a couple more obstacles. And you're like, oh, okay, I didn't see that coming. With the Russians or the way they handled the editor of the paper. Right? Like,
that's nightmare fuel there.
What's his name? Eddie Marzan, I think.
Yeah, Eddie. Well, he's always good. He plays Skeezy pretty well too, Eddie Marzan.
Well, he plays Skeezy, or he plays the scientist, right? He was in like Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah,
playing like that Russian scientist, and then he was the bad guy in Deadpool 2, I think.
Yeah, I think that's. He was also like a villain in Hancock.
Was he?
He's like the guy who loses his hand or whatever because of Hancock.
Really?
Yeah.
That editor.
Yeah, that guy.
Wow.
Dude,
okay.
that guy is he's in so many things that you'll be like, holy crap, I can't believe I've seen him before. He's one of those guys. It's like, where have I seen that face before?
Wow.
He's in a lot of stuff.
But yeah, all this stuff happened, and it instead of slowing down, the movie almost continues to gain more speed. And you're still on this wicked ride.
It actually it stays steady at that speed that it's traveling through, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't, and it also really doesn't grind to a halt either. It's a slow down, but it's not like, you're just punching on the brakes at the last second.
Yeah. But it does sort of end on a cliffhanger.
As they all do.
But like you don't really know what happens with Matthew McConaughey's character.
No, you don't. Or Hugh Grant's character for that matter.
Yeah, or Hugh Grant's character.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, man, I mean, I don't know how well this movie's doing, to be honest. I don't think it had a great opening. It's got like a decent Rotten Tomato score and all that.
I think at this time of year right now, it's going up against
It's not much. Now it's February.
Well, that's true, but it opened what, last week or 2 weeks ago?
I think it was last weekend.
So what did it go up against last week? And that's the whole thing, right? So it all depends on what it went up against when it came out. And it's funny, you'll see like these diamond in the roughs come out on a weird time and not do great at the box office, but then pick up later on. Well, now at a time it was before through video sales, but obviously now it's like via demand and all that stuff, right?
Now it's streaming.
Yeah, streaming, which is huge now in the industry anyways, right?
So, what are some of our favorite moments of the movie?
So many. Please tell me a story.
I mean, arguably
Play a game with me, right?
I love that, to be honest, because again, for me, from when I first saw the movie, as soon as we see Hugh Grant, he's already in the shadows of Charlie Hunnam's house, and you don't.
Buenos tardes,
Raimondo, but you don't really know. I mean, there's something up with this guy, but you don't really know how to take his character. And sometimes actually like that scene when he says, Ray, play a game with me. No. Pretty please, play a game with me.
Oh, please.
And he's like, no. Right, play a fucking game with me. Like, he changes each time.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's something that I remember learning in acting school where you have to change your tactics. Right? Mind you, this is a film, but it's not on stage where something can change.
Yeah.
And so this is set. But he made that choice to say that phrase, because when you repeat something, you have to change it, and you have to give it some sort of different energy.
Okay.
And he did it in such a good way that you could see, like Charlie Hunnam. I don't know if he necessarily knew he was going to say it that way,
right?
And was like, okay, like because really the whole house scene, although it's like in a lot of movies when someone's
the anchor of the movie, really. Like if those scenes don't work, the entire movie doesn't work. Right. So you need,
because if those scenes slow down,
guys, exactly. So you need those two guys to really work well together, and you could tell there was a chemistry there, and they worked so well, and it just that exchange alone shows how good of an actor Hugh Grant really is. Yeah, because he's giving a lot. He's giving a lot for Charlie Hunnam to take and use.
Yeah.
Right?
Acting is reacting.
Yeah.
And he's giving him a lot to react to. Yeah. And yeah, I agree. I think with that kind of thing, because as well as we progress through the story, you know that Charlie Hunnam could do anything to Hugh Grant.
Oh, even that set, like
anytime someone's blackmailing someone else in a movie, like spoiler alert again, Hugh Grant, the whole drive of the movie is Hugh Grant is trying to blackmail Charlie Hunnam to get 20 million pounds because of this evidence and all this information he has regarding Matthew McConaughey's character and the deals and all that stuff. And so, but obviously anytime someone's blackmailing someone in movies, they're like the terrible person and they're going to get their comeuppance. And then when they're doing it to someone that is like they're physical and in some cases mental superior, it's never going to go well for them. And then you almost fear for that person who's being blackmailed.
Well, even that whole exchange between the two of them, right? It's on that razor's edge because you're like, okay, is Charlie Hunnam actually going to do something? Because he is massive in stature alone in terms of like size compared to Hugh Grant.
Well, I think he's bulkier, but I think Hugh Grant is taller.
Yeah, but I mean, like, but that's
he's a bulky dude.
Size, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, the other thing too, and I see it, is that, you know, he's been really calm. And we've seen in the movie where even Charlie Hunnam goes from very calm and collected to wild in a second.
Well,
right?
So for me, when it gets to it, because again, when we're introduced to them, we have no idea who either of them are.
Right.
We've only seen the little prologue where Matthew McConaughey is in the bar, orders a drink, and you think he gets shot.
Yes.
Right. That's all we know. Yeah. And we see these two, and then it progresses from there. So this is what I want to ask you, because what was cool about this movie is, for me, there were two parts where they threw a curveball.
Okay.
Right. And the first one, it involves the beginning of the movie, and that's when Matthew McConaughey is on the phone, he's talking to his wife, and you hear him say, "Who's there?" And then gunshot. So in my mind, it sets off that the whole premise is actually she hired someone to kill him.
I didn't think that
See,
at all.
I don't know. That's what I thought, because it wasn't like panic, and you couldn't really hear her on the other end. So all we really knew is he sits down, he has a beer, he's talking to his wife, and she almost sounded like angry to hear from him on the other end.
That's what they made it sound like.
So that's why I thought it was her that hired someone to kill him. And spoiler alert, it's not. Yeah. And then the second one is in Charlie Hunnam's house when he first opens the freezer because he's going to cook them steaks.
Yeah.
And there's this kid, Aslan. Yes, Aslan, Lion Witch in the Wardrobe style.
Yeah.
He's dead in the freezer. And you think Charlie Hunnam killed him.
Right. Yeah. Oh, right? Yeah.
And he doesn't do it. It's the kid fell out of a window. He got pushed, but it wasn't meant to throw him off, but he dies, and Charlie Hunnam just has him in their house, in his house.
I took care of it, boss.
So it's like when he has him there, that's another thing. You're thinking, oh, this dude's a psycho, because at that point we hadn't really seen much of him.
No, we hadn't seen
much of his backstory or the story in relation to what was the
or
narrative.
how violent Charlie Hunnam's character can be.
Exactly.
Right.
Plus he dresses in like suits. You think, I don't know, you think he's maybe not necessarily a business person, but you don't think he's the bodyguard. He's the right-hand man. But then, he is. Yeah. And he does some stuff.
I've watched enough gangster movies to know it doesn't matter what they're wearing.
No, 100%. I mean, anything like that. But what I mean is, like, when they first meet him, you don't even realize, like, right from the get-go, you don't realize that he's actually a part of the
whole thing.
The whole drug empire.
He could be anybody.
He could be anybody.
Yeah.
But so that's it. Then you slowly get to know him, and then, hey, there's a body in his freezer. Holy crap. Oh, but that wasn't him that killed the kid. In fact, the only person he kills, if I'm trying to remember correctly, is the guy who's about to kill Matthew McConaughey.
Yes, in the entire movie.
It. Yeah. That's the only time. Yeah. And so, those are the curveballs that were pleasantly surprising to me.
I will agree with that 100%. I thought they, I can't state how much I really liked this movie. Like, this movie was great. It was such a thrill ride, just because it gave you so much. And a lot of it was subtle too.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't like they didn't hit you on the head with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And they sort of let you try to figure it out as it went along. Right.
And I loved some of the silly moments. Again, the silly moments being some of Hugh Grant's dialogue, or when he makes him and Charlie Hunnam read the script or
Oh my
the
God.
transcript of
Yeah.
what he thinks they're actually saying.
Now,
Again,
come on, Ray.
he's like, no, put a little something in it,
put
into it.
something in it. Yeah.
It's so good the way he does it. Like again, because it doesn't. It seems silly, but not silly for that character, you know. And then the other silly thing would be the boys in the tracksuits making these videos.
Oh my God, that video.
You know, them like what did they call it? Fight porn.
Yeah, it was fight porn. So basically, they took a video of them fighting.
Well, fighting the henchmen.
Yeah.
At Matthew McConaughey's compound.
So they're fighting. They take a video. They post it on or whatever, and the music, the song.
Yeah.
It makes me want to get in a fight.
Oh my God.
I was so charged up. I was like, yes, let's go.
Let's do this. Oh man.
I think I even took a swung at you. Good block, by the way.
Oh, well, you know, you got to be on your toes. Let me tell you. But again,
Everybody in the theater was really frightened for one reason.
oh my God, especially when we tore apart those chairs.
With our teeth.
Oh man. But yeah, that's kind of what was cool about this movie, is that certain things that happened that really had no effect, like those guys making those videos of them fighting each other and
Yeah.
and fighting the henchmen.
Like, those every sort
But
of
then, like,
sequence-
surprise, they actually made them make another video.
Yeah.
At the end of the movie, and you're like, "Oh, that's so wrong." And again, great moment where you don't have to see it
But you
because we
know.
don't, but we know something real gross happened.
It's nightmare fuel there.
It's like, yeah, I can't unsee it. I was there and I can't unsee it.
It's gonna stay with me the rest of my life.
Oh
Fucking
man,
nightmare fuel.
I honestly want Colin Farrell to do more roles like that.
Oh, he's amazing.
He was so good. And again, because I think he's hitting his stride. He's like in his 40s now, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, and he's got that look where he can still play like
Good looking,
a handsome
charming,
dude, like handsome lead.
or
but-
terrible human being.
Or well, he's going to be the Penguin, right? In
Skizzy.
the next Batman
Oh,
movie.
is he really?
Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome.
So I would like to see their take on the Penguin that way, because the Penguin is like Burgess Meredith or Danny DeVito.
Yeah,
Right? Who people think of, but nope, it's going to be Colin Farrell.
which
So
would be very interesting.
I am very interested to see what they do with that, especially after seeing this. Like this
Have
kind
you
of a
seen
role.
Horrible Bosses?
No,
He's in that, and he's hilarious. Like he can do comedy very well. I like the last few things I've seen with Colin Farrell that I can think off the top of my head. Horrible Bosses, and then also I really loved him in Seven Psychopaths, a movie we
Never
should do,
saw
by
that.
the way. It's amazing.
is that the one with Christopher Walken?
Chris Walken and Sam Rockwell,
Yes. Okay, I have heard about this movie.
and Colin Farrell is sort of like the straight man along this crazy ride,
Okay.
and he is great in it. But again, it's all this it's this stuff that you don't expect from Colin Farrell unless you really watch what he's doing, right? And he's getting. I guess I agree with you. Him and Hugh Grant are getting better with every year that goes by. It seems like,
Yeah.
right?
They get to play these roles that are a little bit more different, that they can either just relax into it and they're not and have fun with it.
Well,
Like
Hugh Grant mostly, I mean, and to an extent even Matthew McConaughey, where early on in their careers, Matthew McConaughey started as the stoner in Dazed and Confused.
and Angels in the Outfield.
Oh yeah, right. He was a baseball player in that. I forgot about that.
That was easily his best role ever.
That is
let's
his
be honest.
greatest role. Let's not forget that.
Um,
He deserved the Oscar for that.
How did I do that? Yeah, that's it. That's the movie.
That's the dream.
Let's be real.
All right. But like yeah, now I mean even Hugh Grant in A Man from U.N.C.L.E., he was great in that. And
Yeah.
I really
I'd forgotten about that.
I really wish The Man from U.N.C.L.E. got a sequel because I want to know more about what's going on with that storyline. I love that.
Yeah, maybe it will.
What are they gonna do?
What are they gonna do about it? I don't know.
But yeah, so any other notes you want to have on this before we sort of
Wrap it up.
wrap it up?
No, I don't have much more to say. I think it was a thoroughly entertaining movie.
You're thoroughly entertaining.
I try. I try, valued listeners. I'd say, honestly, for anyone that likes these kind of movies that are a little more gangster centric or whatever.
It's gangster centric, but it's not gangster centric.
Yeah, it's not it's not a mob movie.
No, it's not a mob
se.
movie per se.
But
it's
there are mob elements.
If you liked Snatch, I think you'd like this.
Yeah, for sure.
Very much so.
I'd say this is it's weird because if you think about it, so Guy Ritchie's last two films were very different.
Agreed.
Being Aladdin, which, you know what, I think was a good movie.
I wish he did like a gangster take on Aladdin. That would be amazing.
He just made all the
just mash up the genres.
All the palace guards were actually just gangsters.
We're
instead.
like British gangsters.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing. But yeah, I think.
But I think people.
But between that and then this movie, I think he's maybe on an uphill swing or an upswing or whatever you want to call it, because he had done some fairly not great movies before that. I think. I don't know, but
I think he took a step back and did a little bit more producing.
Did he?
I think so.
I don't know. You just hadn't heard his name very much recently,
aside from Aladdin.
But before that,
yeah, before that, I think he took a little bit of a break or something.
Took a bit of a break, and
maybe he was busy writing this because this is
solid,
top shelf stuff.
The Gentleman.
So for Ginger Flix, thank you for listening. You can check out our Instagram at Gingerflix Pod.
Gingerflix Pod.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube on Gingerflix as well. This is Flix with an X.
Yeah, it is.
And what we tend to do for our YouTube channel is we will also add a couple quick reviews right out of the theater. We'll also upload our podcasts on there.
Your quick review of this movie convinced me to do this.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so
you're welcome.
I was like, I had to watch it.
Oh, wicked.
Gingerflix came in clutch, so
yes,
I had to make sure.
That's how we do it.
That's right. You convinced your partner to do a movie.
Yeah, you're welcome, Earth. And then so find us on YouTube where we will upload our podcast with a little bit of media.
Yeah, you can find us also on Apple Play and Spotify and a few other podcast places.
Anywhere you can find podcasts, we're there.
Yeah, well, most places anyway.
All the good places.
That's right. Yeah.
So for Ginger Flix, I'm Josh.
We're off to bed.
Together.
Can I come, please?
Pretty please. I'll be in the corner.
I might come anyway, you know. Just be in the corner scratching on the walls. Wanking off until a little hanky.
On that note, I am Josh.
I'm Joey.
Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yoo-hoo!